Patricia, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm proud, I'm pleased, I'm honored, I'm humbled to be with you today. Let me jump right into some of the things that I want to say, because first of all, we're allowed to despair. The situation is full of despair, but we have to keep finding the hope within ourselves. And I think that's what Sella would have told us to do not despair. The other thing is to remember that we will represent actual real women as facts, and we will always be a symbol of women who have already passed and women who are not born yet. So bear with me when I talk about what we can actually do. One thing is to recognize 1325 for what it is. It's not an accountability mechanism. It was never intended to be. It was basically a Security Council resolution that allowed us to be seen and gave us the possibility of being heard. But it was not a perfect mechanism in which to be seen. It is not proven to be a perfect mechanism in which to be heard. But I think women, and particularly women in the region, have used the little bit that 1325 gave us and burst it wide open. And that's why I think that we reach a level of frustration, because we want so much more than 1325 was ever envisioned to have. And let me say it from an international criminal law point of view. At first, remember when we all concentrated on security, and we just thought if we would masculinize the way we talk, we could talk to security officers and talk to people who are really involved in military. And then we've moved to understanding that the issue of peace is not just a feminist issue, it's a human right that we really have. But there is no human right to peace except for within some of the African mechanisms. So we see a shortfall there. So we need to work that human right, that there is a human right to peace, which presupposes demilitarization. Once you have militarization, you will not have peace. And even though there's a new international crime called the crime of aggression, it's a crime that in many ways is focused very masculine, and that women really did not partake in understanding. Is a crime of aggression the same thing as the right to peace? No, it isn't. So that's an area that we need to start occupying. But in terms of some concrete things we can do, I would say, first of all, let's not forget that in addition to being women, we are citizens and we are civilians. Why is it important to mention that? Because a lot of international law is structured around citizens and structured around civilians. Because you're a citizen in a country, your country owes you rights and responsibilities, even if it's so-called a failed state. Human rights don't disappear with failed states. So the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights stays in force, whether a state exists, whether it's failed, because the successor state remains responsible. I know that many have already said, well, access to justice, that sounds so kind of light, or your political will. But as persons and citizens under the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights, that we can go before a treaty body, we can charge the state or the successor state with their violation of us to participate in the political process. This is why Sella was killed. She had the gall to participate in the political process as a citizen. The same thing in terms of International Covenant on Economic and Social Rights. We very rarely go there to the treaty body, and you can go even if you are the surviving members of victims, and talk about the harm that's been done and ask for reparations or ask for remedy from those harms, because you're not allowed to take part in the cultural life of your country, the educational life of your country, and the political life of your country. I think we cannot lose our standing on these human rights bodies. In addition, I think that we should start looking at the Convention of Disappearances. It comes from the Latin American context, but when you look at the mass grave that was just recently found in Libya, these women, these children, these men had been disappeared for months. Therefore, their families, their relatives have rights and actions if we understand the Convention on the Rights of Disappearances. Right now, that convention is placed within the Rome Statute. It's part of a provision of crimes against humanity. I want to speak about crimes against humanity briefly, because the entire ideal about crimes against humanity is an attack on the civilian population, almost per se, except in very few countries. Children and women are part of the civilian population. As a matter of fact, we're the majority of the civilian population. We rarely lose that civilian status. when you look at crimes against humanity from that perspective, it should be there to protect us, the civilian population. And therefore, when we disappear in graves, or our daughters or sons disappear in graves, when we are politically assassinated, which could be interpreted as an act of persecution under crimes against humanity, we have to use these mechanisms and stand up. Now, I was just checking because Fatou Bensouda, who is a prosecutor from the International Criminal Court, she made a statement 2 days ago that she will be looking into the acts of the mass grave, that if the crimes appear to come under the jurisdiction, that she will not exclude that. We have to hold her to that. We have to come forward to the extent we can with information that could turn into evidence. And we also have to support that this is not outside of her jurisdiction, but within her jurisdiction. And I would say the same thing in Sudan. If al-Bashir comes, or if other persons, right now there's only one at the court that is from the former government, we have to be able to support them with evidence, but also just support them with political loyalty. Because as one of the other speakers said, the multilateral protections that human rights was actually constructed under after World War II is starting to wither away. It's starting to break down. And it's basically breaking down by male-run countries that prefer authoritarianism to liberty, to freedom, to peace. We are not on the margins. We are in the middle. And we have to act like we're in the middle. Please do not hang all of your hopes on one article, on one provision, on one convention, but understand how to use all of them together strategically. Thank you very much.